you began to be pretty nervous about what they're doing. So we'd sit in the front window and watch these kids on the sidewalk, and they'd be setting up jumps.
You don't win 8 races with luck.
And he'd be going 35 miles an hour down the sidewalk, hitting these jumps at like 2 years old, 3 years old. We moved from San Francisco when he was 4, and he probably wore out 5 big wheels and 50 pairs of tennis shoes. Jeremy got involved in riding BMX bicycles, I would say about age 11, and or maybe 10 and a half. His friend just one day called him up and asked him if he wanted to go to YMCA bicycle race. So we thought that'd be really neat to go see him do that, because he had a bicycle that he rode pretty well, and he always had about 3 or 4 kids around the neighborhood that would come over and get him and take him riding, and they were like 14 or 15 years old. Once again, you know, you sneak around behind him and you take a look out there and hear these 15-year-old kids setting up these jumps and having Jeremy blaze down the hill and hit these jumps wide open on a bicycle. So after about the 3rd bike he brought back with the frame broken too, we decided maybe we better get him some heavy-duty stuff. So we bought him these really ugly, brutal, heavy things that wouldn't go very fast. And he managed to break those in 2 too.
That's not a rumor, I don't think. Baloney.
In 1986, we purchased a YZ80 for his birthday when he was 14 years old. And yeah, I mean, he's one of those surprises that you just never would have believed. He had been to watch his friends ride motorcycles, but we'd always told him that stuff's too dangerous because I hurt myself a lot doing it. And so we sneaked it in and put it out on the deck, and we asked him to go get the ice cream out of the refrigerator, or the freezer, which was outside. And he walked out there and he came back with nothing but just a dumb look on his face. And then he went back out there and didn't say anything. He just walked back out there and looked again. Then he came back in and said, "You know, Mom, there's a motorcycle out on the deck out there." And she said, "I know. Did you see it?" He said, "Yeah, come on, I want to show it to you." So he took us out and showed. He says, "I wonder who that belongs to." Mom says, geez, I don't know, man. I think maybe it might be a birthday present." And he looked so surprised. He said, "No, I don't think so, Mom." "Really? Really? It's for me?"
I don't know. Look out for you? Sometimes. Most of the time. Look out for me.
In his first race out, he ran the beginner class 80, and he lapped all but the 2nd place rider in his first race out. And then once again, his second moto, the same thing. He lapped everybody but the 2nd place rider. Well, in 1988, we went to Mammoth Mountain. Jeremy decisively won 9 out of 11 races. We showed that this kid has some tremendous ability, and at that point, we all realized that Jeremy was on his way to being something special. In 1989, the season came along, and we decided at that point we were going to go down and buy some motorbikes and turn pro. We went down and bought some new Hondas. We spent time getting them sorted out, but we could tell for sure that it was going to be a career that was going to be something special. It wasn't just a going to work type of job. He was really enthused, and we were really enthused, and he was beginning to get some support behind him, and that really made everything real special. And it was just apparent that we had a special rider on our hands. In 1991, shortly after Jeremy had really done well in Park City, and won the Grand National Championships, we were approached by Rick Johnson and Roger DeCoster, and they offered us a program that was beyond belief, and that they wanted to key their 125 program around Jeremy. And they said that they wanted to have a 4-man or a 3-man or 2-man team, but they wanted to start the program knowing that Jeremy would be a part of it. So we sat down and talked with them, and they put together a program that we couldn't turn down. So ever since then, he's been riding the red bikes with the wing. Okay, in 1992 season began. We were riding the Honda for Pro Circuit and Peak, and I believe he won like 5 races in a row. He looked just invincible, and then along came the Nationals. He got off real hard back east, broke his leg, broke a bunch of ribs, bruised his heart, bruised his spleen, bruised his kidney. He jacked himself up pretty well. Then he came back in the San Jose event and rode with a broken leg and wrapped up the championship. He won each and every race that he participated in the West Coast Division. The opener, he finished third in. After that, he never looked back. He won them all. And therefore, I assume that led Roger DeCoster and the guys at Honda to believe that he's got a real future as a 93 racer also. Yeah, from the very first stages of his riding, we saw abilities that he could win at whatever he tried to do. He would just step up to whatever it took. That's what was good enough. I mean, he could figure out how to get there and get there fast.
The 1993 Supercross story is brought to you by Alpine Stars, Top Rider Attitude.
Skip Norfolk, Jeremy's mechanic, prepares for Supercross 93, and he has nothing to hide. McGrath Supercross season began like any other. Lots of hopes and some realistic expectations. However, what was to unfold over the next 7 months would be one of the greatest Supercross racing stories in history. As the motorcycle industry stood projecting, each had their own views and predictions of what would happen in 1993.
Before the season started, a lot of people speculated on who's going to be the next champion. And looking back at Jeremy's performances in 91 and 92 on the 125, he did attend 5 races on the 250 and did quite well. So I expected Jeremy easily to win some races and finish in the top 3. I figured that the main contenders would be, of course, Stanton, Kudrowski, and Bradshaw. And I knew that Jeremy did quite well, but I don't think any of us expected him to win.
Before the season started, yes, I knew he was going to be a threat. I raced against him in Europe, and he beat me a few times in Europe at the end of last year, and I knew he was going to be right in there.
Before the season, people had brought Jeremy to my attention, and said he had been doing good in Europe and this, that, and the other, and this and that. And I said, well, I think that he's going to win some races, but I didn't feel like he'd win a championship. To be honest, I knew he was going to be tough because I'd watched him as a 125 rider, and he always got real good starts, and that means a lot in a Supercross. But for what he done, I think it definitely stunned a lot of people. It didn't. I don't say it stunned me, but I was surprised because, like I said, I expected him to win races, but I didn't expect him to win a championship.
As team manager, my expectations for Jeremy coming out of the 125 class and pretty much being a dominant force in the 125 Pro-Am Supercross ranks was that he would adapt well into the 250 class, but that it would take him some time to work his way into that level of competition in the 250 series, Supercross series.
McGrath, people shouldn't be expecting him not to win. During the offseason, he's back in Europe racing against Stanton and Bell, and he's beating him. So, the people back here that hasn't seen him race, I knew that he was going to be, one of the top guys, and I think the year went kind of how I thought it would go. I figured that I would be at top 5 and he'd win some races, and, it turned out to be a good year.
When I started out this year, my expectations were to finish top 3 in the series and try and finish top 5 every race and hopefully win some races.
In 1993, I personally expected Jeremy to make such a statement that it would be without a doubt evident of what's possible in his life.
At the beginning of the season, I didn't feel, or I don't feel anybody else realized what Jeremy was going to accomplish throughout this year. We all felt that Jeremy was going to win some races and he was going to be in contention. Nobody was going to anticipate him winning the races that he did and the string of races that he did and he definitely had a great achievement. Basically, I believe he just surprised the whole industry with his accomplishments.
The Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida, the first of 16 Supercross main events in the 1993 season. Coming up, we'll look back at the championship rounds, Jeremy McGrath's chase for the most prestigious title in all of off-road motorcycle racing. Along the way, we'll talk with some of the competitors that battled Jeremy for the 1993 crown, as well as other Supercross insiders. We'll hear their stories, as well as thoughts on the reigning king of Supercross, Jeremy McGrath. In Orlando, the gate is about to drop. Let's watch the action, and we'll listen to Honda team manager Dave Arnold. He'll compare Jeremy McGrath to past Honda stars. Listen close. We'll begin to understand why Honda hired Jeremy McGrath.
A lot of similarities between like Ricky Johnson and Jeremy and Jean-Michel Bayle and Jeremy. Jeremy is an exceptionally gifted rider. He has a lot of naturally technical riding ability. And I also see a bit of Ricky Johnson in him to where he's kind of a showman. He kind of flows with the bike, he kind of flows with the crowd, he has a lot of ambience about him. And above that, he's a genuinely nice guy, you know, where a lot of the racers have kind of introvert, unique personalities. So I would probably draw parallels between like Rick Johnson and Jean-Michel Bayle. And as far as the aggressiveness and the caginess, I see a lot of Ricky and Jeremy, and as far as a lot of his technical ability and talent, I see a lot of Jean-Michel Bayle and Jeremy.
Damon Bradshaw, rider number 8, is holding off the rookie, Jeremy McGrath. Number 3 is Mike Kiedrowski, and number 5 is last year's Orlando winner, Mike LaRocco. Now, McGrath was exceeding expectations, but it didn't last. As a result of that little off-track excursion, McGrath will be passed by both Kiedrowski and Mike LaRocco. You can call it rookie nerves or whatever you want. Fact of the matter is, Jeremy let his arms get pumped up. Holding on to the Honda was a problem. Meanwhile, Damon Bradshaw, the leader,